What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome to Leafs Digest. Now, this one is not going to be a Leafs-specific video. I apologize for that. But hey, this one definitely impacts the Leafs, impacts us as spectators, as fans, as media personnel, anything you want to think of yourselves as us, whatever it is. This is starting to affect us in a much bigger way. And yes, some things are bigger than sports. But hey, we're breaking down how this is affecting the Leafs, the NHL, and the first thing is first, the reason that it is becoming more and more of a prominent issue is because more and more teams in the NHL are being affected by this, and we had yet to see it happen to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but we have our first postponed game. The Calgary Flames have, 17 Flames players and coaching staff and trainers and all that put into COVID protocol. 17. That is an absolutely ridiculous number. So Thursday's game against the Calgary Flames has already been postponed. It's just getting a little bit ridiculous about how many teams are losing guys, games getting postponed, teams traveling through different cities and all of a sudden coming out the other end with 6, 7, 8 guys dropping, going on these lists. And then you look at Carolina ripping through Canada, coming out the other end, their team impacted by COVID, having players go down, and the teams they played against having players, coaches, training staff, all the like going down with it as well here. So things are getting a little bit concerning. We've already got news that the NHL will be upping its COVID protocol. The NHL doctors and the NHLPA are meeting to determine the best course of action, how this will all play out. But it sounds already that things will move back to the way they were last year, minus the bubble, minus the different divisions that we were in. I would not be surprised if we get to some point here where we get to some sort of modified bubble where we've got, guys, they go on to road trips and you're stuck in your hotel, you're stuck with just the team, or you're stuck with certain players on the team, however they want to group it. But I imagine it's going to get much, much tighter regardless of what the rules are in the cities they travel to. I think the NHL is going to get to a point here where they want to protect their league, they want to protect their brand, and they want to protect the product that's being put on the ice. So they will have to limit in terms of what you can do for traveling, when you can travel, how you can travel, where you can travel, and what you can do when you get to that city that you have now traveled to. It's already looking, as I mentioned, the virtual meetings, masks, increased COVID testings and screenings. And the biggest concern for me at this point is this going to result in a pause? Now, Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic of TSN has already said the NHL is not looking to pause this season yet. So fingers crossed on that happening, but I don't know if it's just me. I am getting major March of 2020 vibes where it became a whole, we don't know what this is and what it's going to be. And then Rudy Gobert shut down the world, testing positive with COVID for the NBA, immediately shutting down the NBA and the other leagues, the other major sports leagues following and having their seasons shut down shortly after. It is becoming those vibes again. Travel restrictions starting to creep up again here, things shutting down, universities closing doors and moving exams online. So the world itself is in a very, very interesting place. Josh and I will continue to come on here onto posting videos, to updating things. We'll go live. We'll have different sessions like that just to keep interaction going with you guys, give people some things to do, give ourselves some things to do while we're at it. But I mean, as far as the NHL goes and professional sports, it looks like we're heading to a path where things could start to end up having pauses. I mean, I look at the NBA and the NHL specifically here. Both these leagues have been impacted drastically. They're having large numbers of players per teams, coaching staff and medical personnel as well, also going down with COVID, being placed in COVID protocols. And it's getting to the point where teams can't even field a team to play games that night, the next night, and they're having to delay those games. Now, the NBA doesn't have to worry about the Olympics, so they have a leg up there where they can continue to delay these games. But this also brings me to the second concern that the NHL is going to run into here, and that is what will happen with the Olympics. Now, one thing I have tried to stay away from myself, I know Josh is looking to stay away from it as well, but it is the kind of political aspect that's going on with the Olympics and whether or not players would want to go there. But as far as the COVID restrictions go, just for the Olympics themselves, that whole situation is looking a little bit sketchy. As far as we've been able to determine at this point, if you get COVID or if you test positive, even if it's a false positive, you have to produce 2 negative tests 24 hours apart. And if you don't manage to do that, you will have to be in a 3 to 5 week quarantine in a Chinese hospital, stuck there, not able to come home, not able to do anything, just stuck in China, having to deal with that. So, I mean, for any athlete that's going to the Olympics, that's a tough situation. Mentally, physically, whatever. It is not an easy situation to deal with. But for the NHL players specifically, and yes, this is a little bit, oh, la-di-da, these are pro athletes, and oh, they're losing, they make millions. I get it, I understand. But if they get stuck in that situation, they can't get paid for that time being. The other part to look at here is these people have families. They've got kids that they're going to be leaving for at least the 2 weeks that they go to China for. And then if they get stuck over there because of the COVID situation, man, spending 5 weeks or longer, depending on whatever happens, away from your kids, away from your family, that is going to be a tough situation for them as well. Money aside, whether they get paid or not, all that aside, that is tough for them to have to deal with. So they're going to be hoping that doesn't happen. But then you want to add on the NHL having all of these delays, all of these pauses, these postponed games. Where do you think they're going to have to make up that time in order to play these games back? Because I'm telling you right now, the NHL is not going to be interested in pushing back their playoffs yet again in order to fit these games in when they're looking at a 2-week block that they have set aside strictly for the Olympics, when they could just remove that 2 weeks and have games be played in that time period. It's going to seem much more likely that the NHL will look to move towards a position of not allowing players going to the Olympics. And to be completely truthful with you, at this point in time, I would think that the NHL players would be much more likely to be following along in those footsteps of not wanting to go as well and being on the same page as the NHL as, hey, let's just play this NHL season. Let's play 82 games and let's try to win a Stanley Cup and not worry about this and not worry about having to be stuck in China for a month and a half, potentially 2 months, depending on how your health situation may go. Because, I mean, the other selfish aspect of it to look at here from is the owners. You send a player over to the Olympics, he's there for 2 weeks, and as he's supposed to come home, he tests positive. Now what? That guy's stuck in China for 5 weeks. Austin Matthews goes to China and he gets stuck there for 5 more weeks. We have to play 5 weeks without him, not even because of an injury. And then you think about guys getting injured here and they come back and they're a little bit out of shape. They're a little bit rusty when it comes time to get back. You want to just tack onto all of that the fact that they can't skate. They can't work out. They don't have proper nutrition. It's not a good situation. Even if they come back after that 5 weeks and you can throw them in, or the 3 weeks, however long they end up getting put in COVID, quarantine in China and the hospitals there, they come back and they get thrown into this situation. At least here when you get injured, you can get on the ice. You hurt your hand, you break your hand, you can skate every single day. You're not touching pucks. You're not playing with your stick. You're not in any contact, but you can skate. You can work out. You can do physiotherapy. You go there and you get stuck over there. You are stuck. There is no working out. There is no way to keep up with it. And then your NHL team is going to have to go without you. These guys may have to come to a point here where they decide for themselves, for their families, for their friends, for their financial situations, hey, this ain't worth it. We can't go. So, as more news about the COVID protocols comes out, we will be back here breaking it down. But as far as we know right now, the NHL is looking to go to an enhanced protocol. More masks, the meetings, the virtual meetings, separating players in locker rooms, and not allowing guys to be going out in different cities. It seems like we're going to go to that point. More COVID tests, screenings. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we end up in a modified bubble where you continue the regular schedule, but hey, you get to a city, there's no leaving the hotel. There is no going to other players' rooms. I could see it getting to that kind of point. We saw that last year, but it was much more enhanced, where it was playing only the same teams over and over again, traveling to the same cities. So we'll kind of see how it ends up going here. But as far as we know, the next Leafs game will be Saturday against the Calgary Flames, or against the Vancouver Canucks, my apologies. But with that being said, Vancouver themselves is now starting to deal with some more COVID stuff. We saw the other night Tucker Poolman was pulled from the game with be entered into COVID protocols, which is not ideal, especially considering if he's going into it, who else was he exposed to in the room before the game, between periods, on the bench, getting ready that morning, at practice. So we'll see how Vancouver's situation develops. I honestly, I really do hope for them that they don't get to a point where they have to go into lockdown, because we saw it rip through that team last year, and you got to just feel so sorry for those guys, for their families having to deal with the COVID situation, being locked away. But we'll see how things go. As far as we know right now, the Leafs will be playing the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night. Their game against the Calgary Flames for Thursday has been postponed. So more updates to come. We will see what the NHL decides, how they want to proceed with this. They're not looking to pause things as of yet, but I personally would not be surprised if we get to a point where they just say, hey, let's throw this thing on hold for a week, 2 weeks, and just pause this. Shut these COVID cases down, stop the spread as much as we can, and see where we go from there. Maybe we can clean things up and get back to things as normal as they were. Maybe we can keep the NHL separated from all the stuff going on outside the world, and we can keep the NHL in its own bubble while the regular season continues. Full schedule, playing all the teams, but we will get more information as the NHL has these meetings. We look forward to seeing how things go, and hopefully we can get back to some regular NHL action very soon. Hopefully these players, these teams, these medical staffs can get back to full health, and COVID around the world can start to figure itself out. And hopefully we can contribute to helping it get back on path here. But Leafs are first in the NHL. I know it's not based on win percentage, based on points. We are first in the NHL, so hopefully we can continue in action as well. We just come off of dominating the Edmonton Oilers, holding Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl pointless. Again, a beautiful sight to see, both of them going -2, so that is incredible as well. Leafs fans, let's stay strong here. Stay safe at home, everybody, and we'll see how things play out with the NHL. More announcements to come. Keep coming back to this channel for more news, more updates, more rumors. We'll have it all. Leafs fans, keep believing.